Going into fall camp, what are some of the things that you want the offense to be focusing on? What are some of the facets that you guys are trying to get better at?
Right off the bat, we're focusing on our operation, and we're talking the first few days here. I mean, operation, being efficient with what we're doing, having guys going out there confident in our offense and how we're trying to design everything, and then just being very surgical with our shifts and motions or our alignments. But right off the bat, we just want to be as the operation piece, I guess what I'm saying, is the big thing right off the bat. And then some of our main, through fall camp, some of our goals and some of our emphasis for the offense is going to be more of that downhill run game and really establish the run game. And with that plan going into game one, we're trying to be explosive with our pass game. And again, that run game is going to help us. Setting up the run game is going to help us get to that explosive pass game. Ball security is obviously a huge deal that we're going to overemphasize. And that's no matter what year you're going into. Ball security is just huge. And then, we really want to get more, into the shifts and motions and kind of dive a little bit more into moving the back so those would be the main things.
With Lee was kind of mentioning, he kind of feels like going into fall camp at least, he might have Wolpen be taking those first snaps with the first team. That position, obviously he's kind of saying, even including Alexander, not a ton of experience necessarily on the field. How are you seeing that group going in the fall?
I think a lot of those guys are going to get spread out reps. Obviously, we want to get Alex ready to go in that starting role. But those other guys, Ryan Wolpen is such a trustworthy guy. You know he's going to be in the right spot and do the right thing, and it's easy to put him on the field. So he's going to have a big role. And Rob Mahone is going to have to step up. He's got a ton of talent. He's part of the offense, processing things, and once it kind of clicks for him, it's going to be fun watching him run because he's got some physical tools, that some guys don't have. So we're just kind of trying to push him to that point where he's going to be a very efficient running back for us.
How do you feel about calling plays, getting the chance to do that again? You did that up at Easter. Yeah, it's all on you this year.
I'm excited. I'm fortunate that Coach Arson put me in that role, and it's going to be a whole lot of fun. It makes the week to week and the day to day a little bit more fun knowing you're in charge of it, and the offense, you have a lot more input, I guess, when it's all said and done, so it'll be good.
How are you going to put your statement point on that offense, the way you call plays?
Our Boise and Coach Harson's offense is always going to be the base of what we do with the different personnel groups and the formations and all that stuff. There is a little bit of what I had done in the past, what Coach Baldwin has done in the past with the Eastern Washington offense. But really, we're just trying to find the best mesh for our personnel. There's so many X's and O's that you can do, and a lot of different schemes. But it's finding our base scheme and what we do well with the personnel we've got.
You're in a new role. Obviously, you got two new coaches on the staff, and it's been, I think, 5 years in a row with a different primary play caller. How do you kind of get through all of that sort of change and transition and get into kind of a rhythm and a flow as a staff and as a play caller around that?
Communication. We've got to be really good at communicating between each other and within the staff, and getting on the same page and being on the same page. And that's why fall camp is so nice too, because now we get to see it, we get to talk through it. And if there's any adjustments, going into those first few games, making all that and getting on the same page. But very fortunate the staff that we've got. The new guys coming in have already brought a ton to not only the X's and O's piece, but to the planning and the organization of this. And Coach Bedell obviously has a ton of experience, and those guys love him in that room and have already developed some connection and trust. And it'll be fun seeing him work, through this fall camp and into the season. Coach Keesaw's got a ton of experience, and he's a very likable guy and handles that wide receiver room really well too. And in the time that we've had as this group, as our offensive staff, trust each other. We love being around each other, and that goes a long ways. Not only with the day-to-day planning, but with the players.
With last year, field position for you guys wasn't always. It's sometimes a challenge for you guys. I mean, sometimes you don't really have a hand in that. How does that factor for you guys? How does that? I mean, it's one of those things that talk about hidden yardage and all that stuff.
Sure.
But how much of a factor is that for you guys? Sometimes when you have to go those longer fields.
It can be a factor, but we always talk to our guys about you control what you control. Now, if we can control certain areas where we're trying to get out of a backed up situation and move the ball and change field position for our defense as well, so it goes both ways. But a lot of times, whether it's a special teams thing or things that happen within the game, we have limited control on where we start, our drives. So we try not to focus on that too much. That'll be more of a program emphasis. I know Coach Harsin is definitely talking about that.
Yeah.
We'll be working on stuff like that.
And then my last one is, where do you think Brett can be, his biggest improvements this year? I mean, consistency is a word that always comes up, but where can he make strides? And I think a lot of people talk about maybe the third year being a big one for a quarterback.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that sentiment?
I agree. I think Brett's in a very good position right now mentally, where he understands the offense, he knows the guys that are here, he knows how to deal with a lot of the different guys, he knows the adjustments within each play, so he's very comfortable and familiar. I don't want to use comfortable because he's always trying to push himself forward, and he is the epitome of a professional as far as how he prepares and how he works, but he's in a good place. I think he's very confident in what he's doing, and we're going to see that on the field.
Is there a facet you think you need to take a step up at? Is there something that you really noticed last year?
Well, I know he's working, and we've talked about just the overall physical piece of the athleticism and the pocket movement and creating more time or extending plays. That's one thing that he's been working on, we've been working on. We want to be more consistent with the deep ball and being able to throw those takes or those go balls down the field and be more accurate, more precise with that. Always working on his quickness to release and his fundamentals and balance and footwork. But where he's at, mentally right now, and how he processes the game, how he processes our offense is fun to watch.
So you mentioned you wanted to focus on the explosiveness of the offense, but there's kind of a lack of experience with the wide receiver group. Mm-hmm. How do you anticipate maybe replacing some of the production that might have departed with the career receiving yards leader?
Yeah, every time you graduate guys, there's always guys that step up, and that's what we'll have in that room. We've got some guys that have some experience, just haven't been put in that role quite yet. Now, there are some guys that really have done a good job, and that whole room's done a good job, but they're ready and they want the challenge, and they are excited to get things going.
Do you feel like there's a possibility, it'll be augmented by, because there's a wealth of talent at tight end, especially. How do you see that maybe replacing some of that production in the interim until you can develop that experience?
We do have a ton of depth at tight end, a ton of bodies there. We want to use those big bodies, and so a lot of our formations and the personnel groups will be based around those tight ends. But again, we want to be very multiple too. So we know that those guys in the wide receiver room are going to step up, and they will be productive. But it's also nice as an offensive coordinator and as an offensive staff, we're looking at it going, okay, we've got some big athletic bodies too that we can get in some heavier sets and have a little bit of run threat. But now they got to be scared for the edge guys, too, within the pass game. So,
more options, the better.
Yep.
All right.